Well, hello there, and this is Dr. Barbara Young, and welcome to the Total Woman Show on Transformation Success TV, and I'm glad you're here today. I want to thank all my viewers in the audience. Thank you so much for coming. My God, this place is full. Thank you so much, Barbara. We welcome you, we welcome you. You know, today I'm honored again to have back on the show my guest, Dr. Donetta Pickett, who was here last week, and I said, I gotta have you back, and you look gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah, that red is talking. Thank you. And Althea, you look great too.
Oh,
my co-host for the week. Thank you so much for coming back. You guys, this is really exciting. You know, we're continuing part one, which is women power brokers in specialized professions. Mm-hmm. And so, because you were so fascinating about how you're combining being in labor relations and management and all the things that you're doing, actually you're labor relations administrator, and you monitor projects and agreements with construction workers. And actually you do something else, you ensure harmony among those, and that's quite a feat. And so on the show before, we talked about your experiences and how you got into this profession and some of the tips you had for women who may be considering this profession. However, what we learned is this woman is a minister of the gospel. She's an ordained minister. Wow. And you have started a ministry called Living Rivers Ministry. Waters, living waters, living waters. Well, you know, rivers and waters, you know, maybe it is. Maybe God does want you to say living rivers. But Living Waters Ministry. So one of the things I was intrigued about, and because there are still barriers, number one, that women face today going into industries and professions that are not really normally, we would say traditionally, female-dominated positions. So that was something, and particularly of a minority background in labor relations. My question, and why I wanted to have you back, is how you were able to navigate your religious beliefs, and we'll just say, put it that way, or your walk with God, and in the business. Because as I said in the last show last week, is that many people are a little afraid or fearful of even sharing their faith, whatever it may be. And so I wanted to have you share on the show, how did this come about? Have you always been a Christian? Have you always been, you know, in the Lord, as you say? Yes. So,
yes,
so tell me.
I was born and raised in the Church of God in Christ.
Okay.
And so just, you know, going through life journey as a Christian.
Okay.
As I was pursuing a paralegal degree, I was in my second year in law school, and I heard the Lord say, "You're in the wrong school." And I'm like, what?
Well, you mean to tell me the Lord speaks to people today?
Yes.
I mean, so you're okay.
Yes.
So you heard the voice of God.
He says, you're in the wrong school, because I was on the path to becoming a prosecutor and a judge, finally a judge.
Okay.
I realized about myself is that I am analytical. I like to analyze and do research.
Okay.
And so, you know, I was on the path to becoming a prosecutor. But when he says you're in the wrong school, you're supposed to be in seminary. And I'm like, seminary? Wow. I'm like, I've been to Sunday school all my life. I done sang in the choir. I done did all, you know, paid my tithes and offering. What else do you want? You know? And I'm like, I can't make any money going to seminary. And I said that. But lo and behold, that next quarter, I was in seminary.
Oh my goodness.
What I did not realize about my call was that I had been teaching Sunday school for a number of years and not knowing that that was one of my gifts that the Lord had given me, was the gift of teaching. And so I was in seminary, and so I said, okay. So as I began to grow more stronger in the Lord, then he just gave me the vision to, you know, start my own ministry. But in terms of religion in the workforce, when I first started out in the construction industry, I asked permission. I was an employee at that time. And so I asked the director permission if I could have a Bible study during lunch hours. And they said it was okay. Wow. And so from there, that opened the door for me to be able to witness to others, to be able to share with others, pray with others. And so as I go on to the next project and the next project, I kind of discern where their faith is, whether it's the director or a contractor. I kind of, you know, as the Bible said, Christ spoke to them where they were. So I kind of like just relate to people where they are and let my light shine.
Did you feel that the Lord was directing you do you include him in your business decisions is really what I'm asking?
I need to do better at that.
Okay.
But absolutely, yes. To answer your question, we have to seek the Lord for direction so that we don't miss the timing of things and to be able to, help someone at the proper time.
Right.
So seeking him early in the morning or asking for direction is what I try and make a habit of.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I was intrigued by this because today, in today's climate and environment, people have a lot of trepidations about really sharing their faith and on some particular jobs. So you had the advantage of somebody allowing you to be free to have a Bible study. But with this comes opposition.
Yes.
Because I know it wasn't as easy. You can't tell me that you didn't have somebody saying, why can't we then have our form of worship here
Absolutely.
too? So did you have any of that?
Well, I was just bold enough to ask if they wanted to have their particular, they could have done such, such. And so my platform per se was that you can volunteer to come. Free will. If you want to come, if you want to share, that's up to you. I would challenge them in things of where they were in their lives to help them grow and, see their faith. But I really didn't have a lot of opposition because people loved me.
Okay. All right.
And I love people.
That's okay. That's all right.
If you're sweet to them and you're kind to them, they have
That's
no choice
absolutely
but to
true.
be nice and kind.
Right.
Yes, that's good.
So you really didn't have a lot in terms of trying to integrate that into
if
your
there
work.
were any issues or complaints, they said it amongst themselves. They didn't really direct it towards me. So,
So I would imagine your walk with the Lord kind of added to your integrity, people trusting you because they knew who you were.
Yes.
Do you think that?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would assume that. That's awesome.
But it's interesting how you said the Lord had to tell you, no, you're not in the right school. You need to be in this school.
Oh, I was angry.
And but I don't think that I have actually heard any stories from any people who were called by God to be in the ministry that this is exactly what they desired. Now, which leads me to conclude that oftentimes the way we wish to go or the way we think we should go is not the way He wants us to go. I can't tell you how many men of God that have said, I wanted to be an attorney, I wanted to be a lawyer, or I wanted to be, something else. Definitely. And then I've heard a minister's wife tell me, I never want to marry a broke down minister, broken, poor minister, because I guess the impression is that if ministers are broke, they don't have, they can't provide, have a good income, and all of these false, I think, notions that we have about it. But when we start looking at today, the climate and environment, there is a lot of hatred in this country. And since we're a global show, I put it out there. There's a lot of hatred and there's a pushback about being a Christian and your belief in the workplace. So what is your take on that? What have you found and what have you discovered from your own personal experience?
Well, I found that if you can observe if there's any challenges in the workplace with regards to your religion, then you just keep it kind of on the private. There's always... Well,
you don't want to be out there with your Bible on the...
No. Right.
And reading it.
Right. Because you can have interaction with one-on-one to let you know if that person is a believer or not. And that's one way that I can tell if I want to engage in a conversation more about the Lord or religion. So you just kind of have to discern, when to talk, when not to talk, go into the restroom to have a prayer meeting, or, you can sit at your desk and pray for whatever situation is going on. But I find that in meetings, I sort of like to discern the conversation and see where people's faith are, and then that will allow me to interject something, a word of encouragement, a word of faith to kind of get them focused on, okay, this is
Okay.
what we need to believe, or this is what we
Okay.
need to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
Was there a time when your faith actually interceded on a business decision? Did God ever talk with you in a group and say, trust that one or don't trust that one, or go or don't go? Did he ever speak to you? Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you'll get that, women have that intuition. So
Yes.
you'll get that in the pit of your stomach sometime.
Right.
Or you'll hear something that will say that's a red flag.
Okay.
Or I didn't say that, or just wait a minute, pause. So he does give direction,
Yes.
as you're listening and discerning, he'll give you direction on.
Well,
what
it's
to
really
proceed.
interesting because I was a college professor for a period of time, and I remember counseling a lot of students, and I would say, but were there flags? There's a bad relationship that went bad,
Right.
or a wrong decision with a job and it didn't pan out because that wasn't where you were to pursue. And I'll say, did you feel that? Did you get a word, or because I always say that your intuition is here
Yes.
and here. Did you get something? Because the clues and the signposts are there, and
Yeah.
every time they would say yes, but I didn't heed it. I didn't,
Right. Yes.
yes, I got a feeling, because people tell you who they are.
Yes,
they do.
yes.
Yes, they
That's
And sometimes it
You're
doesn't
on
even
point
take
with that.
it doesn't even take much intuition.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just
It's
what
right
they say.
there.
It's just right in your face. But we want to ignore it and push it away. So that's where a lot of times, people, I say, faith, and they'll ask me about faith. Do people ask you about faith? And I said, but you use faith every day. You get up in the morning and you
Right.
flip the switch on your
Absolutely.
light. Then you pull the chain or whatever it is to put your night light on.
Right.
Do you say, oh, is it going to work, or is it not going to work?
Right.
You just flip it.
Yes.
You go out there to your car. Do you say, now car, are you going to start?
Right.
Thank
You
you.
just
Same
put the
thing.
key in the ignition and you just turn it because you
Yes.
believe it is going to work.
Yes.
So that's what? Faith.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Activated faith.
Oh,
Yes,
okay, all right.
absolutely.
So, but you can admit that there were instances
Yes.
where you didn't follow the
leading.
The
of
leading, right,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely. And there's always a cost when you don't follow the leading of the Holy Spirit. So,
yeah. How can we count
but
the
we
cost?
have to learn.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to learn.
It is a learning experience.
Because sometimes you don't hear the voice as loudly
As the outside people are
outside
talking.
people.
Yes.
So you have to, really be in
Listen.
tune to the Spirit. So. But God knows your heart. So sometimes
Yes.
even if you make the wrong decision, He doesn't hold it against you. It's just another lesson that you have to learn,
Right,
for the
right.
next time. But He may not speak the same way, so there's different ways that He speaks. So
Now, do you do any partnerships, or do you do partnerships in your business, or when you bring people together, do you actually use discernment in that as well? When you're looking at working with different people, does the Lord ever tell you don't work with that person or beware of that person?
absolutely, yeah. In my business, I mainly subcontract.
Okay.
So normally the contractors, they come for me, they ask me for my services. I rarely have to go and ask
that's a blessing.
a contractor because they're familiar with my work in
Right,
the industry.
right.
So when they need something, they'll call me. So it's very rare that I find someone that I don't want to partner with unless I'm sensing some arrogancy, or I'm sensing that you want to shortchange me with a budget or something
Right,
like that.
right.
Or, if I sense that you just want to use me as a token or something for, then
You can pick it up.
I can pick it up.
Yeah. Do you believe that you're going into another direction as opposed to the construction industry? Do you believe that you're moving out? Now, were you given instructions to start this new ministry, and what do you hope to achieve with it? What do you think the plan is?
Yeah, I do feel a shift from the professional world. Not that he's saying I need to lay it down fully, because I have been doing it for a number of years, but I've had ministry on the back burner. And so I've matriculated through seminary quite a bit. I've gotten the education and the knowledge and some experience. And so, it's time to test the waters, step out in faith and do what he's calling me to do. And so I'm making that shift to do more in ministry.
Are you a little
hesitant.
or have trepidations about it?
I am just a little because I've been doing what I've been doing for so long.
Comfortable, yes.
And so I'm like, okay, in my mind, like we spoke before, you want to do things and prepare your way. And so now I'm like, okay, what can I do to get ready before I make the real change,
Right.
you know?
To kind of hold on and make sure you're secure.
Because I know ministry really is my purpose and it's really my call. And I have so much joy in that.
Okay.
But I also have joy in the profession world as well.
That's right.
And so where I see my ministry going is to be able to make an impact on individuals that don't know their purpose, because a lot of times, even as believers, we can sit in church for a number of years and not really know the gift, the equipping gift or the spiritual gifts that God has given us so that we can, share our faith and impact the world.
You bring up a good point because I think this is one of the most difficult questions that many people are still grappling with, not just women, but all individuals and all over the world. What is my purpose? Why am I here? Rick Warren wrote that book, Purpose-Driven Life. But the question is that when people say, well, what do I need to do? How do I know? Because the gift was within you, but how do you pull it out? Where do you, look for it? Exactly. It's almost like the hidden secret. And, even with my own purpose in my own journey, it was like, well, what am I supposed to do? But I had to get direction from above because I am a woman of God, and I had to get direction from above. But there has to be perfection that goes with it, and the perfecting of it is the hard part because nobody wants to go through the struggles, what it takes to actually move into your purpose. Am I making sense?
Absolutely, very clear.
Because it is a struggle, and then you have the pull trying to pull you back, and you're trying to go forward, and then you got something pulling you back, and you're trying to make another step. It's very uncomfortable. And so, have you had people say, when you said that you want to help people find their purpose, what are you going to give them to help them see this is your purpose?
Exactly.
Well, for me, or for anyone, you have to identify what it is, what talent that the Lord has given you. And so when you look at your talent and what you like to do, it's normally based around that, that talent that He's given you.
Can I stop you there? Because a lot of people aren't going to listen to when you say, what the Lord has given you, they turn off. Because everybody's not there. I'm just being honest, Donetta, because I know you too. I deal with a lot of people. I don't expect them to all be on the same spiritual wavelength that I'm on. But so I can't always say, well, give what God has given. Because they're like, you got to break it down a little bit more serious than,
so you have to survey.
Like, what do you like?
You have to survey your talent and what you like to do. So based upon what you like to do, if you look at your life and see where you've been, what you've done, that's generally the gift that has been given to you to operate in.
Because I will never believe that we have been given a gift that you wouldn't like to do.
Exactly.
I mean, God is just not, He's a God of love. Well, I can. He's not going to give you something as your purpose that you hate.
Exactly.
So, but I will share this story that I was in a session where we were dealing with this same thing about women were coming to me and saying, what is my purpose? I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know. I'm an architect, and or this woman was an engineer. I don't think she'll mind me sharing, but she was an engineer, and she was saying, but I don't think it's my purpose, and I'm really here with you to find my purpose. So I had to actually, and it was God that gave me the thought, was to say, what did you play with when you were a little girl? So it got to be a serious discussion with every woman in there looking at, what did I play with? What was the toy? Because you select the toys. It's like even with your shoes, with kids, I don't like these shoes. I don't want these shoes, So it's almost, it becomes a select. Your shoes are really your selection too. Yes, ma'am, they are. Your shoes. And so I found that out many years ago. And so, but the toys that you play with as a child. And so one lady in the class said, I only had pots and pans. You know, the mothers, they were so
Right,
poor.
right.
I said, but what did you do with the pots and pans?
Right.
Come on.
They organized them. They, you know, they did.
Yes,
So,
yes.
okay, what does that translate to? You liked doing that. It was the only thing you had, but you
Right.
found joy
Right.
out of
Organizing.
with those pots and pans.
Right.
So this woman loved. This is a real important story for you out there.
Yeah.
She loved designing clothes for her dolls. And she was just really making, love that.
Wow.
Well, as a result of that class, she today is a dress designer
Wow.
Yes,
at
Amazing.
age 50.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Yes, from
That's
engineering to dress design. And loves it, and she can dress you. She, I mean, she loves dressing
just comes
women,
out.
you know, and dressing you, and beautifully. I mean, I'm like, oh my, yeah, from that
amazing.
class, because she was an engineer, you know, very, you know, stable-minded, loved figures, and was very good at her craft.
Okay.
But that wasn't. She just that wasn't her purpose.
Wow.
Wow,
That's
just
very
found
good.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes, for those of you out there, you know, if you want to look at what you played with when you were a child,
go
you'll
back.
find out.
Go
back. What fuels your passion? What did you play with as a little girl?
I played with dolls, and I played with Easy Bake Oven. And,
Okay, okay.
Remember that? I
And I
remember
was
that.
competitive as a child. I did have two brothers, and so I was kind of a tomboy a little bit, but I was competitive. So I liked sports when I was a young girl.
Oh, that's good.
That's
So
good.
what did you
Very
play
good.
with as a little girl?
I was always doing business. Still, even when I was little, no matter what I did, I was
Wow.
organizing everybody to make it bigger.
Wow.
I didn't really realize
It's really
that.
something.
It is something. I didn't even think about it. Yeah, I didn't realize that. When you said that, that makes sense. You played with shoes. Remember, you would put.
No,
You should-
but I had shoes, high heel. I wore
Yes.
high heel shoes.
yes.
All
but
the
you
time.
borrowed. You took them from
Wow.
your mom.
But I played with dolls. But I lined the dolls up.
Oh, really?
And I'd be talking to my dolls.
That's amazing.
You know, I'd be, you know, lecturing the dolls, but I'd line them
Beautiful.
up.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, so it's amazing how when you start to look at what you played with as a child,
Yes.
and then looking, was the seed of purpose born within us.
Yes.
And it's our joy to find it.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you're going to help women
Do
find
that.
that. Don't leave out the men, they need help.
Absolutely.
Lord,
We
they
all
need some
need
help.
help. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think sometimes this is just for discussion. What do we do about our men? Because we are the mothers of male children. We have the primary roles of really training these young men from small ages, but many of us didn't have role models in which to
Right.
maybe be able to train our children based on the role models we had.
Right.
So it's just food for thought, you know,
Yeah.
that I just throw out there. But back to you and your purpose and what you're going to be doing with people, I think is absolutely
Awesome.
wonderful. But don't leave out the men. Now, do you feel that you have a call just for women? You know, just for women? Or?
No, I'm a whosoever will.
Okay.
You know, so if
Okay.
you want to come,
Okay.
come. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well-
if you get
well,
something out of it, then
Yeah,
praise
but
God.
Donetta,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, please make the plea
Yes.
for men as well. I am beginning to see a lot of men who have so many issues,
Yes.
and that we could have a Me Too movement for men,
Right.
Yes, you sure
right.
could.
Right.
and they're not
We can't
sharing.
ignore
Right.
them. Yeah.
So I don't want to ignore the men out there
Right.
all over the world who are hurting and have to have this
Yeah.
image. This year, it appears to, in my estimation, the year of the woman. We're really coming out.
Yes.
And
Yes, sure.
men, I don't know. It's going to be. They're going to be afraid to even touch us. They're going to be afraid to even shake your hand. Maybe. But it is an interesting thing. But this show is the Total Woman Show. We
Yeah.
are
Yes.
really interested in talking with women and
Right.
sharing thoughts. And so I want you listeners and viewers out there to be sure. And those of you in the audience, you can write us and let me know some of your thoughts and your
Yeah.
opinions about the show, and maybe some suggestions and ideas and thoughts that you may have about things we need to discuss on this show. Because we're all about everybody
Yes.
and empowering women to live
Yeah.
their best life. And I
Yeah.
can see that you're living your best life.
I'm working on it.
It's never over.
Yeah.
But I have one question. On
Yes.
some children, kids, people, adults don't even have a vision yet because they have been so either abused or have very low self-esteem. So you kind of have to build them up before you even ask them who they are, because they don't even know who they are. So do you have something in place where you're going to be able to kind of boost their self-esteem before you start getting to the nitty-gritty of who they are?
Yeah, when we're talking about encouraging broken people,
yes,
we have to look at what has been hindering them from moving forward.
Okay.
And so we want to look at the issues that they've had, some of the trauma that they face, and kind of deal with that, but to let them know that they are wonderfully and fearfully made by God, and that they can move past whatever challenges that they've had in life. And so once we get to that point that they recognize and they have the confidence that they can do whatever, then we can move forward for them to grow in their faith.
Amazing. That's great. I think that's really wonderful. And the teenagers today and the Gen Zers really need a lot of help, and I think they're looking for help. And they have to see us as role models. Women who are living our faith, and because seeing is believing. And I think I talked about this the other night. You have to see. Before you can believe. And so they have to see us as women who are making a difference. Women of God, women of faith, I'll say it that way, who are making a difference by the way we live our lives. Like you said earlier, that the success you've had in living your belief is that people know who you are and they gravitate towards you because they sense the love. And as Althea pointed out, the integrity, because you're living a life of integrity. But there's so much duplicitous. How do you deal with that? I mean, have you dealt with some, people, women who are, they and I'm disappointed, and I should not be saying this, but I'm disappointed because I've seen just a lot of women say they're Christian, I love the Lord, but they're not living. And not that I'm judging, I'm not judging, but the thing is, our younger women are looking at us.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So they see, and then they meet me, and they think I'm of the same variety, I guess, And so it's really hard to garner their trust. So do you have any last minute words on that?
Yes, when we see individuals that are professing to be, godly women or Christian, and then their walk is opposite of that or something to that nature, they're doing themselves a disservice. So it's really up to the individual that's looking at that person and looking at another person to be able to, differentiate and to be able to say, okay, I can't group all people together because this one person is walking a certain way with their life, because you can get distracted. The enemy can hinder you from moving forward. You can get stagnated, in your faith and in your walk. So I would say to look at a person for themselves, look at them for themselves,
That's good advice.
Very, very good.
Well, I really want to thank you for being on the show. Part 2 this week, coming back, and you look fabulous.
Thank you.
To share your belief in God and how you're able to navigate both the secular and non-secular world. Make a difference. And so I want you to continue to make a difference.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. And I want to thank you out there. And my audience today, thank you for coming. And I hope you enjoyed the show. So all of you viewers out there, send your comments and your feedback to Dr. Barbara Young, info@transformationforsuccess.com. Thank you so much for being here today. This has been wonderful. Woo-hoo. Kisses. And have a great week. Okay, thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Thank you.
You were beautiful.
Oh, you're beautiful.